Now, usually, I try to make videos that inspire you to travel or chase your dreams, and I'd much rather you watch those. But I do realize that a lot of times chasing your dreams end up becoming a business. So I thought I'd lend a helping hand, or two.
Net working capital to total assets ratio. What is this all about? We're going to walk through it and try and see if it's something that we want to be overly concerned with. We're definitely, I should say, going to know what it's about, but should we be very concerned with it? And the way I'm asking this question, you probably have an idea of what my opinion is of this ratio, but let's take a look and see what's actually going on. So net working capital, one of my favorites to actually consider in finance is very simply our current assets. Well, let me just write CU assets minus current liabilities. I like it because it lets us know if we should even bother taking on more debt. Why? Because current assets are the things that you can liquidate within the year, and current liabilities are all the money that you owe within the year. So if there was an emergency, we have to sell everything that we possessed. All right, what are the things that we can actually sell this year? Those would be your current assets. Or do we expect can be sold this year? Those would be your current assets. And we'd use the money to take care of our current liabilities. Obviously, we'd want to see a very positive net income statement and use that to take care of our liabilities. But just in case, because you can never predict the future, we need to just look at what we have right now. So our net working capital would be the result. And that's really our breathing room. After we take care of all our responsibilities, what's left over? So let's say our net working capital is $10,000. All right, for us walking through net working capital to total assets ratio, we're just going to keep using $10,000, and we'll see how crucial this ratio really is, how we feel about it. All right, so this is our breathing room. We've taken care of all our liabilities, and we still have $10,000 worth of assets left, of current assets left. Okay, we're not going to use our long-term assets. Why? Because you don't expect to be able to liquidate it within the year. All right, you weren't planning on liquidating within the year. It's something that you plan on keeping for more than a year. We don't want to touch that. All right, but we still owe a certain amount of money this year, and that's our current liabilities. So after we've settled all our current liabilities, how much room do we have to work with here? So understanding net working capital, that's basically just in case we're going to borrow some more money to do whatever we wanted with, we have to make sure our interest payments for this year will not increase by more than $10,000, because after that, we don't really have much room to work with. We're almost underwater. Again, remember, current assets, there are some things in current assets that we don't plan on turning to cash, so we don't want to be too close. Okay, so what exactly is this ratio telling us? It's telling us that for, let's say we have, as a new company, $100,000, I'll say, worth of stuff that we have, we only have $10,000 of breathing room. Now, is it a problem? Think about it. Do we really have a problem with a 10-to-1 ratio here? Or 1 to 10, I should say. So for every $10 worth of stuff that we have a dollar worth of breathing room. But is it a big deal? Because if you take a look at it, all right, let's raise this up a little bit. If we say, I'll put it on the side here. We still have that same $10,000 worth of breathing room, and we have, let's say, $1 million worth of stuff. All right, so so that's what are we looking at here? 1 to 100. Is it still really that big a deal for us? The ratios are completely different. But doesn't this just basically tell us, hey, if you're going to borrow some more money, please make sure that you're not borrowing an amount of money where our interest payments or our liabilities will increase by more than $10,000, because after that, you're really crossing your fingers here. You're really hoping for a good year. You're really hoping for your operations to turn a profit. But even if this was 1 to, let's say, 1,000. I mean, what does it really, are we really being hurt here? It just basically means for every $10,000 worth of stuff we have, we only have a dollar worth of wiggle room. But us interpreting it and actually having a conversation about it, as long as we don't actually go under, like, are we really in trouble if we're managing our long-term assets correctly, and we are yielding a profit, and we know for a fact that we can cover our current liabilities this year? Is it really a problem? It may be a problem if you are looking at an economic climate that's very, very unsteady. So those long-term liabilities, they are all of a sudden going to turn into current liabilities. And if you haven't been bringing in money and you're looking at $1,000 worth of stuff that you paid for with a bunch of long-term assets, then all of a sudden you may be in trouble. But for right now, are we going to panic over the differences in our net working capital to total assets ratio? I say no. I definitely like it because it allows you to take a look at everything you have and see how much wiggle room you have in comparison. But it's not something that I would burn a share. I wouldn't start a riot over it. Okay, I wouldn't. We can argue back and forth of what the right ratio is and where we should aim for, but it's going to depend. It's going to absolutely depend on the market. It's going to depend on what our competition is doing. It's going to depend on our strategy. It's going to depend on our industry. If we're partners in a bunch of different industries, all those different companies are going to have different total assets. Different net working capital to total assets ratio. All right, so just look at it. If a 1 to 10, for every $10 worth of stuff we have, we only have $1 worth of wiggle room. Okay, so just don't borrow any more money right now. For every $1,000 worth of stuff we only have $1 worth of wiggle room. Okay, don't borrow any more money. You're really, really close, and you better make sure that you're successful going forward in the future. Okay, so it can mean we're very leveraged. It cannot mean we're very leveraged. Right? If we acquired all of this stuff with our own hard work, I'm not really worried about that little bit of wiggle room in comparison to what we have. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that you want to understand and you want to use to compare to other moments or other periods in your business life. But it's not a deal breaker, because at the end of the day, the net working capital is what's important. Okay? As an ego boost, you can look at how much you have, but when you put the two together, does it really break your back? No, there are a bunch of other ratios that will really stress you out. Net working capital to total assets is not one of those stressful ratios for you to consider. It's just not. All you're looking at is, for everything I have, how much wiggle room, how much breathing room do I have? And understanding very simply net working capital without looking at your total assets, that's enough of an idea. Understanding how much you have in total assets is not going to change much, because if most of what you have are long-term assets, all right, then most of what you have just end up being long-term assets, because we're only really worried about our current assets. We're only really worried right now, if we're looking at net working capital, we're only really worried about the things that are due this year, and could we cover it? As long as I can cover it, it's all well and good. So I wouldn't stress too much over net working capital to total assets. So if you and I have an argument over it, just know we're doing it just because we're trying to practice our intelligence and trying to look for different ways of observing the performance of our company, but it's not necessarily a deal breaker for either of us. Just one more time. Net working capital, our breathing room, current assets minus current liabilities will be your net working capital divided by everything that your company has. The dollar value or the monetary value of everything that your company has. And the ratios are going to be very, very subjective. They're going to mean something different to everyone. Okay?
Thank you so much for watching. Turning a dream into a reality usually ends up becoming your business. That is why we have the Helping Hands videos. Subscribe, like, and feel free to leave a comment below. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Fans of Kindness, our Facebook page, is also waiting for you. See you in the next video. Until then, be your best and never stop learning.